Brazil plays host to the penultimate round of the 2017 Formula 1 season. The championship has now been wrapped up. Lewis Hamilton won it in the last Grand Prix in Mexico. Four-time world champion. It actually still is pretty hard to believe that he's actually won 4 world championships. And obviously took his first here at the Brazilian Grand Prix back in 2008. I've been watching loads and loads of videos about that as well. Honestly, it is such a brilliant, breathtaking moment. Honestly, it's just been real hype across social media. But obviously, that was when he's won his first. He's now obviously won a 4-time world champion, a 4th world championship, and now Mercedes have obviously won 4 constructor titles as well. So obviously jumping into Brazil, it's a pretty calm and relaxed Grand Prix since now all the championships have been wrapped up as well. But you still have the option for second place on hand. Can Valtteri Bottas actually catch Sebastian Vettel? When it was supposed to be a 2-horse race, guys, this could now be a very, a season that's went from bad to worse for Sebastian Vettel. Obviously, I'll explain all that at the end of the episode. But obviously, before that, as always, we like to give our predictions. Now, obviously, as you do know, Lyle isn't here with us for this episode, and he won't be here for the debate show. So I'll be giving his predictions after I've gave my top 3. Now, obviously, we do want to hear your predictions as well, whether it is your top 3, your top 5, your top 10, or even your top 20. Can you actually go all 20 and get them actually right? If you want to place a bet on it, I know you might get a lot of money if you do so. So I'm going to go with third to first in my predictions. Now, I'm going to go with Sebastian Vettel in P3. Now, Sebastian Vettel, obviously losing out the World Championship has been a bitly disappointing end of the season for him so far. Well, it actually has. And as like I said before at the start of the episode, it could get even worse if Valtteri Bottas manages to catch him for P2. But obviously, he can wrap it up if he gets, I think if he outscores him by 10 points, Vettel on Bottas, then he is guaranteed second place. But I think it's going to be a P3. I don't think Vettel is going to push for the win. There is nothing. I don't think there is going to be anything there to drive him for the win. I don't think it's going to be a circuit that will suit the Ferraris as well. So I think it's going to be P3 for Sebastian Vettel. In P2, I'm going with Lewis Hamilton. Now, Lewis Hamilton, as like I said, a 4-time world champion. Now, brilliant. He loves this crowd. Ayrton Senna, idol as well. Obviously, he loves Ayrton Senna, loves the Brazilian crowd. He probably will say that this is the best crowd he's ever seen. Obviously, he's been saying it throughout the course of the season as well, so I'm guaranteed he will say it. But obviously, it'll be the extra special now that he's emulated Ayrton Senna, beating his pole position record, beating his win record, and obviously beating his world championship record. Now he's won 3, Hamilton has won 4. I think I can probably predict that Hamilton will have a sort of like a special helmet going on, obviously with him being in Brazil. And for my race winner, I've gone with Max Verstappen. This guy is on formidable form right now, guys. I think he's got 80 points in the last 4 races, and he would be leading the World Championship if those races, if the season had started on that weekend. So that pretty impressive from Max Verstappen as well, from an absolutely abysmal first half of the season. Obviously kicking on to into next season, but obviously next season hasn't even started yet. We don't know how the car is. We don't know how the obviously Red Bull is going to be. So obviously we can't really predict anything just yet. But obviously, might as well start now and then obviously gain that momentum into next season. Now obviously Max Verstappen, I think he has a very good chance. I mean, driver of the century last year. I think he was in P16 and about 4 or 5 laps later he was in P4. What an unbelievable drive. It is forecasted for rain at the weekend, I believe. So obviously that'll play in Max Verstappen's hands a lot better. It's a short circuit that doesn't really require as much top speed. So I think that will suit the Red Bull as well. Obviously they performed very well at Mexico. A track that is quite high up. I think it's like over 2,000 feet above sea level. Same with Brazil. It's one of the highest circuits on the calendar. I think it's just below 2,000, above sea level, I believe. So obviously you might play favour with the Red Bull as well. But I think Max Verstappen is going to have a very, very good Grand Prix. I think he might even win it. Maybe both Red Bulls on the podium. I really don't know. But that's my top 3 of Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen. Now, on to Lyle's predictions. Now, I'm going to go with Lyle's predictions from first to third, because third place might surprise you. And he's gone with, for his race winner, he's also gone with Max Verstappen. Now, he's probably agreed with me. He's seen how good Max Verstappen drove last season. Obviously, a formidable drive. Obviously, Red Bull fan himself. He likes Max Verstappen as well. He rated him highly. He's rated him highly in the past few race weekends as well. Good preview shows as well. So, obviously, he can see a potential race win as well. And obviously, Lyle obviously knows how good this circuit will be to the Red Bulls. In P2, he's gone with Sebastian Vettel, so he thinks that he's going to gain momentum and go into P2. Obviously one ahead of my prediction, which is P3. So obviously, Lyle thinks that Ferrari's going to have a good weekend, get Sebastian Vettel into P2. Hopefully, it could be quite a good battle between the Red Bull and the Ferrari, and maybe one day that we could see Lewis Hamilton, Vettel, and Max Verstappen all battling for the title one day, which would be absolutely incredible to see. Three very, very talented drivers, of three, totally different generations of Formula One. And for P3, now this is the more interesting prediction, which is why I've gone with first to third for his. He's gone with Esteban Ocon. Now, when he sent me this, I raised a few eyebrows, and I was like, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from. Obviously, Esteban Ocon on an incredible run, 27 races I think it is now, where he's scored on every single occasion that he's ever raced in. This season, sorry, obviously not last season. He didn't score a point last season with Manor, but obviously I think he's beaten the record. I think Max Chilton had that record of 25 or 26 races in a row, obviously of scoring consecutive points. Obviously, Esteban Ocon has done that, beating that record, 27 now. Brilliant drive, and he thinks that obviously Esteban Ocon is going to have a probably driver of the day kind of driver. He's going to finish on the podium for the first time in his career and pushing on for next season as well. He is tipped for that Mercedes seat in 2019 because there is one available, guys. Obviously, Bottas's contract running out at the end of next season as well, so obviously there's a seat available. He's heavily tipped for that seat. So let's see if that drive can also, emulate him to finish on the podium, and then obviously progress into 2018. Obviously, just continue on. What a great driver he's turned out to be as well. But Lyle's also said to tell you guys that he's predicting both McLarens in the top 10. Very, very interesting indeed. I'll take that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure about that. Maybe Alonso can push it in. I don't know. Don't know how the circuit is going to favour the McLarens. It might work out, but if you did see in Mexico, the car wasn't really up to pace with the high altitude temperature, the high altitude air levels, and I think that'll play dividends as well in Brazil. So I can't see McLaren performing exceptionally well, but obviously Lyle sees something in that. So let's see if his predictions are correct with that. But obviously that's our predictions out of the way with, as always. Now, next up is Fry the Grid. Now, this is Lyle's final round of the season, guys. He started off the season. He turned off the 5 red lights for Fry the Grid in its first season, and now this weekend is his last chance to actually claw the title, have a good chance of winning it. Now, point scoring so far, I'm on 50 points. He's on 46.5. Now, if Lyle gets 3.5 or less, I've won it without even answering a question in Abu Dhabi. If he gets more than that, then obviously it goes to the final round. So let's see how he does. Let's see if my questions can put him off. And let's see if I can actually become the first Fry the Grid champion of the season. So anyways, guys, here's Lyle's Fry the Grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Going on, guys, it's Lyle, and let's get ready to fry the grid for the penultimate round in the rainy, hopefully maybe on Sunday, Brazil.
Question 1. How many Brazilian F1 world champions has there been?
Right, okay, so do you mean their numbers or just the individual drivers?
Just the drivers that have won.
So
obviously,
we've had Ayrton Senna, of course. We have had, obviously Felipe Massa hasn't won a world championship. We had Nelson Piquet. We had Emerson Fittipaldi. We've had... God, it's going to be more than that. Nelson Piquet. I'm in the ballpark of that, yeah. I don't know why.
They are Brazilian, yes.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
So, Emerson Fittipaldi. Yes, I'm going to go just with them three, please.
Just them three?
Yep.
And you are correct. Very well done there. Question 2. What year was the first Brazilian Grand Prix held?
In Formula 1.
In Formula
1. It's going to be the 70s. I have a feeling that it was 1976.
Wrong, it was 1972. Oh, so you were close, I must admit.
I know, I had a feeling.
Question 3. Who has 6 wins at Brazil? That's a record.
Yeah, okay. I mean, obviously, Michael Schumacher's, an absolute legend around there. Senna. I don't think Senna. I don't think it was Senna. Could have been Prost. I'm going to say Schumacher.
You say Schumacher?
Yep.
It was actually Alain Prost. 6 wins.
Damn.
Question 4. What year did Ayrton Senna win his first race at Brazil?
It
was quite a famous moment in Formula 1.
Yes, I know. I don't know the year. I don't think it was. I'm gonna say 1988.
It was actually 1991,
Oh.
quite late, and it was great. That was where he famously, obviously, pushed his car all the way to the limit, and then obviously fainted at the end. Remember him struggling to lift the Brazilian flag up.
That was aye.
Right, question 5. McLaren took their last win to date in Formula 1 at Brazil.
Yep.
What year was that?
That was 2012.
It was pretty simple.
Jensen Button.
Pretty simple question.
Third.
Right, question 6. How many times has Felipe Massa won in Brazil?
We won 2008 for sure. So I know he won in 2008. I don't know if he won many more times than that. I'm gonna say twice.
Was twice,
Oh,
correct.
great.
But when was the other year?
I don't.
You've got the point,
Okay.
but I just wanted to
I
test
don't
your
know,
knowledge.
2007, 2008. I don't know, 2007 maybe.
2006 he won it. But yes, obviously you got the point for that. Question 7. How long is the Brazilian Grand Prix to the nearest mile?
Some miles. Now it is very short.
It is a short
The time
set.
is 1 minute
I think it's the
10 or something like
second shortest on the calendar alongside
Yeah.
Monaco.
that. Monaco's short. Oh, Monaco's short.
If you know the exact length, then obviously tell us.
Yeah,
But
oh yeah, it's like 5.85 or something. That's my problem. I always think that something that's quite small is much bigger than that. Was a joke. I don't know. I want to say 2, might be 3. The nearest 2 has to be 2.
2 mile?
Yeah, it has to be.
It's actually 3 mile.
Oh!
3 mile. The length 2.6 miles. The length was.
Damn.
Question 8. Who won the 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix?
That was Hamilton, wasn't it?
It was Hamilton. Yes,
It's quite-
correct.
I don't know why it's quite tense. I know these answers, but it's quite tense, when you're on the spotlight like that.
Question 9. As you all know, the Brazilian Grand Prix first took place in 1972.
Yep.
But the current circuit, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, when did that host its first race? Which obviously hosts its first race, and it still currently is the host of the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Yeah. Can I have a clue? Because you gave us a clue for.
It's in the 1990s.
Okay, that's really.
So I've reduced it down
Okay.
to like 10.
1990.
I'll give you another clue. We weren't born.
Okay. 1990. Now, oh God, Senna. Obviously, I mean Senna. Did he win his race around the proper circuit? I'm trying to think of like my pictures of that. 1993.
1990. 1990.
So he did, I.
In question 10, how many laps will the Brazilian Grand Prix have on Sunday?
Oh, I'll have. I think that's one of the only ones to have. Well, normally it's the same as Hungary, so I'm going to say 70. 69.
71! Oh, he won away!
Charlie White, and honestly, what the hell?
What
Do
are
you
we-
not like me or something?
what are we-
71? That's ridiculous.
So you got 4 out of 10.
That's not too bad, but honestly, Charlie White. You have no idea, Charlie. You have no idea. I have a message for you that only I can deliver, not Vettel. Anyway, but at the end of the day, I'm happy. But 4 out of 10 is not bad. And oh, guys, Climaxer next week in Abu Dhabi. Very excited for that. Obviously, Jordan will be taking the questions. Thank you very much for listening to my Friday the Grid. Obviously, I started in Australia all the way through to the penultimate round in Brazil. I hope you've enjoyed my side of it. Obviously, as I say, Jordan is on the next round as well. Hope you've enjoyed Friday the Grid also so far. It's come down to the wire, which is obviously incredible, which we all wanted to, for sure. And yes, the last time I'm going to say, my ugly mug on Friday the Grid, obviously, and what a great place to have it in front of, obviously. And until next year, for me, see you later. And for me, it's back to the studio, but obviously, back to the studio for the next round in Abu Dhabi.
There we have it. Lyle has now finished his Friday the Grids for the season, ending it in Brazil. He's got 4 points there, taking his overall score now, or his total score, to 50.5 points. An absolutely probably crucial score. That half a point could literally have won him the first Friday the Grid of the full F1 debate show. But obviously we have seen titles won by half a point before. Obviously Niki Lauda over Alan Prost by half a point back in 1984. So can history repeat itself? Well, now the pressure is now on me, because now if Lyle had scored 1 less point, I would have been the champion. However, I now need to get at least 1 right. If I get 1 right in Abu Dhabi, then I've won it overall by a point or more. But obviously that's not guaranteed yet. I'm not going to count my chickens just yet. Lyle might have some really hard questions to try and stop me from getting that title as well. So obviously you've got to find out in a couple of weeks whether who is the champion. Can Lyle win it by half a point, or can I get a couple of questions right and actually win it? And have won over a good friend of mine. We are very competitive as well, so it would be nice to if for one of us to actually win it. I think that'll be some bragging rights for the next couple of weeks for the run into Christmas. But obviously, that's far to over with. One more to go in the last round in Abu Dhabi. Now, when it comes to Brazilian Grand Prix, it's a very, very passionate circuit as well. The South Americans, they love their sport, whether it's football, obviously, whether it's motor racing as well, or any other forms of motorsport. And they do follow their local boys, very, very close. Obviously, most famously in Ayrton Senna as well. I mean, obviously, a brilliant legacy he left in Formula One when he was here racing. Obviously, winning in 1991. What a moment that was! Honestly, I would love to be a Brazilian fan in that crowd, just witnessing him on the podium, winning the races. Obviously, I think it was his only win there, or one or two wins there in Brazil. So obviously, what an incredible achievement that is as well. And obviously, the way that they said goodbye to him at his funeral back in 1994, obviously a very, very sad times for Brazil, obviously for the world motorsport, but more so in Brazil. Sao Paulo, his hometown as well, so obviously a very, very sad occasion for the Brazilians, but they do love a home favourite. Now, they are going to be saying goodbye to another one of their favourites, which is obviously Felipe Massa, who this week announced his retirement again, probably for good, from Formula 1. Now, if you are kind of relatively new to Formula 1 and you're a bit confused as to what's going on, basically, Felipe Massa has been in Formula 1 since about 2002, so obviously well over 15 years in Formula 1, a very, very long career to say the least. And he announced his retirement last season. However, he gone back on his decision because Valtteri Bottas, who was going to be partnering alongside Lance Stroll, went to Mercedes when Nico Rosberg announced his retirement 4 days after winning the World Championship last season. So Bottas went to Mercedes, obviously leaving a seat open for Williams. Now this caught everyone by surprise. I think Mercedes by surprise, and obviously Williams by surprise, and they were like, we don't really have any candidates left. It was only Massa. So obviously Massa came back for a year on a 1-year contract, and there was rumours that he was going to sign another contract to go into 2018. But obviously that's now denied. He's now going, unfortunately. I mean, let's say it's been a very unlucky career for Felipe Massa, or what could have been career for him as well. Obviously a very well-respected guy. He's very respected in the world of Formula 1. He's not regarded as one of the best, but he's like a Jensen Button to me. I mean, within his home country of Brazil, he's one of the best. Definitely is one of the best on the grid. However, he's not up there as one of the best drivers of all time. Alongside the likes of Schumacher, Fangio, and obviously up there with Senna and Hamilton. Obviously newly champion Hamilton. But I mean, if you look back at Felipe Massa's career, it's been a sort of like an up and down type of career, because since 2008, where obviously he lost the championship by a point to Lewis Hamilton, obviously just famously there, what I was saying at the start of the video. I mean, he was champion for about 38 seconds until Hamilton overtook Glock on the last corner. A very, very dramatic end of the season. Obviously, heartbreak for Felipe Massa. And since then, it just hasn't been the same, since then, because he took his last win in Formula 1 at that particular Grand Prix. So that's not a very good way to say, my last win was in Brazil, but I lost the championship on that day. So, it's got like, that's good, but it's not really, because I was gutted as well. I mean, seeing Felipe Massa cry, but obviously a very heartwarming moment where he was awarded the trophy, standing on the edge of the podium, obviously doing that to the Brazilian crowd, obviously saying thank you for the support, taking the defeat like a man, like you should be. Obviously, when you have seen people lose world championships, they tend to run away and just hide. Massa didn't. He was out there. He just said, I've been beaten by the better guy on the day. So, obviously, as like I said, last win for Felipe Massa was in 2008 in Formula 1. But since then as well, his highest position has been 6th place on 3 occasions. And his last podium came in 2015. Obviously, I think I was at the Italian Grand Prix. Obviously, a place where obviously he's highly respected. Obviously, driving for Ferrari, highly respected. There. So obviously, to see that the crowd, remember Felipe. Because normally when a driver leaves Ferrari, they tend to boo them, be against them. But not Massa, obviously, because that's the type of guy. He still has fun. Has still good friends at Ferrari. He still still connects with the Ferrari guys. He's been talking to them or whatever. So he has a big connection with the Tifosi. So obviously, absolutely incredible incredible thing to see. So his overall career in terms of starts will be 269. It's 267 at the moment, but by the time the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix comes around, it'll be 269. 11 wins, 41 podiums, and over 1,000 points. Actually, 1,160 points to be precise. Points scored throughout his career. So obviously a lot of points up there. As most points scored in Formula 1. I think it's like third or fourth highest. So pretty impressive stuff as well. So Massa is unfortunately as like I said, he's always been it's always been regarded as a second the best second driver pretty much, because he's had teammates like Michael Schumacher. He parted him alongside him for his debut season at Ferrari. Obviously, Michael Schumacher's last season in Formula 1, his first spell in Formula 1 anyways, then it was partnered alongside Kimi Räikkönen, Fernando Alonso. Hockenheim 2010 was a very negative moment for Massa, leading the Grand Prix. Then he was told by the team to move out the way because Alonso was faster, to then lose a race win, so it could have been 12 wins. However, obviously that wasn't meant to be. He could have had a very good chance of winning the championship last season as well, being in contention, because it was very, very close. One podium in 2011, in 2013 as well. So obviously this last season in Ferrari colours, not a good way to end. And then 2014-2015, in his first 2 seasons for Williams, was pretty impressive. They had a quick car. Massa finishing 6th on both occasions in the championship as well. I think it was 7th and 6th. So quick car from Williams as well. Last season, I think it was 11th as well in P11 overall last season in 2016. This season, P11 so far, he's on 36 points, which will be his low. If he does finish on 36, that'll be his lowest point scoring finish since 2009, when he finished on 22 points. However, he only finished there. He only competed in 10 races, missing the last 7 because of the Hungarian Grand Prix incident, where obviously a big spring hit his head, knocked him unconscious, lost. Didn't start the last 7 races of that season. So, as like I said, it's been a bit of a hit and miss career for Felipe Massa. It's obviously a bit of a sad note, but obviously it will be very, very nice to see. And I hope that he does get the same reception that he did when he was said goodbye last time around in Brazil 2016, when obviously he did crash, walk back to the pits, obviously Brazilian flag, everyone gave him a guard of honour, for then in a month later to say, I'm coming back to Formula 1. So it was a bit like, oh, that's kind of awkward now, but I think we'll forget that, we'll do it again. So it will be nice to see Massa saying pretty much goodbye to Formula 1 in a very big fashion. Now moving on to another guy who is tipped for World Championship material, and that is obviously Max Verstappen. Now both me and Lyle have predicted for him to finish to win the Grand Prix rather. So Max Verstappen recently has just been on formidable form. I think it's 3 wins overall in his career, 2 this season. Beating the Mercedes at the own game as well, both in Malaysia and in Mexico. So I mean, Max Verstappen right now is his F1 hottest prospect. Even though we have been criticising him at the start of the season, but you could say his car was a bit weak. It was a bit flimsy. But I think someone has kind of just traded Max Verstappen's car to Daniel Ricciardo's car, because Ricciardo is having all the unreliability unlike Max Verstappen, who's now doing a better job. So this is going to give Max Verstappen some, really, really good momentum. But if you look back at last season, when he won the Spanish Grand Prix, finished on on a handful of podiums as well. What a brilliant start to his Red Bull career, after only missing the first 4 races when he was racing for Toro Rosso, replacing Daniel Ricciardo, who is now officially out of Formula 1. So rumor has it and stats have it that Max Verstappen is going to win every single race until Daniel Ricciardo comes back into Formula 1. Very, very impressive stats. 91 Grand Prix victories should come pretty soon. Maybe even 92. Who knows? But I regard Max Verstappen as to be one of the best, and I've tipped him to become a 2018 world champion. I said it 4 years ago or 3 years ago now when he was signed for Toro Rosso. I said there's a 2018 world champion, and I'm going to be sticking by that until I'm proven wrong. And I will promise you guys, I will find that status. Obviously one day when it comes to make our predictions next season. So Max Verstappen, I think a lot of people are a bit like I'm not really too sure on this guy, because 1 minute he's doing really, really well, next minute he's doing he's under a bit of criticism as well. And I also wanted to bring him up alongside his teammate as well, because with those two working together, these two are both hungry to win races. Daniel Ricciardo is definitely a very, very talented driver. I regard him as like a kind of like a Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber type of driver. He's old school. He's relaxed. He doesn't really shout too much, unlike Hamilton, who he's a very talented driver, but he's always in the media. He's always in the spotlight. So, I regard as Ricardo as that type of guy who's just, he's relaxed. He's funny, of course, he's relaxed, he's whatever. But I think if next season comes around, obviously when it does, shall I say, and Max Verstappen is, chances are he's going to be out, outscoring, outbeating Daniel Ricciardo. Is this going to put pressure on Daniel Ricciardo? And could this form encourage him to move on elsewhere? Very, very good question. Obviously, let us know your opinion in the comment section below. So I think Ricciardo, needs to be, matching Max Verstappen at this rate as well, because we're going to be then putting Ricciardo under a lot of pressure next season, a bit like what we did in 2016, because he was going nowhere near where Max Verstappen was. So I think Red Bull sort of need to balance their the options out and trying to get a decent car for the pair of these guys, because they're both hungry for championships. They can win championships as well, but I think I can probably say next season that Red Bull is going to be favouring Max Verstappen over Daniel Ricciardo, and Daniel Ricciardo may become a number 2 driver, a bit like what we're seeing with Felipe Massa. He's a typical number 2 driver. Kim Raikkonen is now a number 2 driver. You don't want to be a number 2 driver. You always want to be a number 1 driver. So obviously, I'll specify what I mean by number 2 is obviously the guy who always gets kicked to the curb, doesn't win races on a handful of occasions. He's always got to take one for the team to allow his teammate to win the races as well. A bit like what we've seen in recent years. As like I said, obviously with their King Raikkonen, Valtteri Bottas as well, obviously being up there as well, and so obviously Dan Ricciardo doesn't want to be that as well. He wants to be fighting as well, and I can't see Max Verstappen being a number 2 driver as well. So I think you can have, it is quite calm in the camp at Red Bull. But eventually, there is going to be sparks, sparking, eventually, and then before it is all going to go pear shaped. It is all going to go McLaren Honda. So we don't want to say that. We want to see 2 guys winning races as well. But I think Max Verstappen is going to be one to watch this weekend, guys. Obviously, if you are placing any bets as to who to win or who to be on the podium, maybe go for my predictions, loud predictions, maybe you all, but I'll probably have maybe Daniel Ricciardo or Max Verstappen up there, to be on the podium. Max Verstappen, definitely, I'll make him a one to watch. But anyways, guys, this is where I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for watching. It has been a pleasure as always. If you have liked this video, then please give it a like as well. Subscribe if you're new around here as well. 313 as well is absolutely brilliant. Let's see if we can get 320 by the end of the season. Let's just run a random target out there. Short but realistic as well, because obviously that is the pace that we are going at. It is obviously absolutely tremendous as well. But obviously, hopefully Lau will be back with us very very soon. But anyways, guys, thank you for the company. We've been there for the bait show, and until next time, we'll see you later.